Recording in progress. Hello, everyone, to our ninth, almost blew it right there, ninth session out of 16 that we're doing as we go through the levels of the soul and meditations around that. I should have, hold on, let me share the screen here with our wonderful PowerPoint presentation. This better be the right one. Let's see. Oh yeah, that looks like it. Okay, here we go. We'll get the right screen up. So if you're new here, or a quick review, more people coming in. Here we go. Yeah. So if you're new here, just for a quick review, we're doing a 4-month meditation project, meditation series around the levels of the soul, something we've explained, but we'll cover it again a little bit every time we do this. And we started in February with the basic level of the soul called the Nefesh, and we had the holiday at the beginning of that month was Tu B'Shavat, the New Year for trees, and then come March, the Purim was at the beginning of that month, and Passover is at the beginning of this month. And if you're not familiar with Lag BaOmer, 33rd day of the Omer count, which is a significant day, is at the beginning of our 4th month. So that kind of worked out very good, very well for us. A couple quick notes, other than you all know Passover is coming up, doesn't really impact anything that we're doing because it's middle of the week. And Passover is our here beginning our 3rd month of these meditations, and our focus for the month is the Neshama level, about connection. And of course, Passover probably rings true with that theme of connection. And it's interesting that all of the holidays lined up exactly with our theme for the month. It's one of those wonderful coincidences. Okay, so one other announcement. We do have Passover coming up, which means the Omer count, which we get into and do some Zoom rooms around every year, is also coming up. So what we're going to do is start, we're going to have Tuesday night Zoom rooms, probably 9 p.m. I think it was. And we're going to do these 7 weeks, 1 night per week, covering just the major topic for the week there. So Zoom rooms on the Omer count start Tuesday. I think it's the 4th. I'm pretty sure it's the 4th, right before Passover, exactly 24 hours before. So we'll squeeze that in, and we'll continue from there. So we'll have this continuing on Saturday nights, and then we're going to be introducing the Omer count Zoom room on Tuesday nights. And there'll probably be a lot of people coming in now. Significant connections between the two, of course. Okay, let's see here. So this is where we are on the calendar. Our theme for the 1st month at the soul level of Nefesh was awareness. That was the basic theme. And for the Ruach level, it's the idea of struggle. And so you start at the Nefesh level, you get an awareness of things, an awareness of something beyond this world. And then when you try to make the connection and move forward spiritually, it's always the struggle. You're in that Ruach level, and then the connection on the other side of that, Neshama, is the 3rd level of the soul. And then the 4th level of the soul is called Chaya, meaning life. So these are the first 4 levels of the soul. There's a 5th. The 5th one we don't get into so much, but we will a little bit tonight. And that's the Yechida level. And there's a concept we discussed over the last couple of weeks, inter-inclusion, where each aspect of the soul is reflected in each aspect of the soul, much like the Omer count, where you do one within each. So each level of the soul has some kind of connection to each one. So when we went through the first 4 weeks of February, we looked at Nefesh within Nefesh, and then we looked at Ruach within Nefesh, and then Neshama within Nefesh, and Chaya within Nefesh. And we go through that cycle every month with the 4 levels within the 4 levels. Okay. Let's see. So the main theme for this month, we're starting a new month. We're starting our 3rd month of the Neshama level. And the main themes around the level of Neshama are the intellect and Torah study. Whereas for the 1st level of the soul, the Nefesh was the very basic level connected to physicality. And so mitzvot, doing things. And then the 2nd level of the soul, the Ruach, is connected to emotion, and therefore by prayer and connecting like that. So now we're at the intellect level of the soul, the Neshama, starting tonight and for the next 4 nights. 4 weeks. Okay, so over the last month, we talked a lot about these different emanations of God, all the complexity of that middle realm. And it's the realm of emotion and how difficult that is. Emotions have no boundaries, and the struggle in dealing with emotions properly. So now we're at the level of intellect, and we're looking to see, we're looking to discuss how the intellect relates with the emotion, how the intellect can help keep the emotions in check. So we're looking at the emotional level from a higher level of the intellect. So it's a different aspect, a different angle, if you will, on the whole thing. Let's see here. So this is where we're at, beginning of the third week. We made it to the halfway point. This is our chart that we have up every week, and this is the most significant chart, as we've mentioned, because it reflects down one column the levels of existence of creation coming from when there was nothing but God, if we can say that. Even it's so beyond us, all the way down to our current physical existence and everything in between, how that came about, and then corresponding to that, exactly step by step, if you will, these levels of the soul that go back up from here back to God. So it's a system, it's a cycle that Hashem put in place, and this is the foundation behind everything in the Torah, studying the Torah or doing meditations like we're doing. It's all built around this system according to the Torah. I put a different quote on the side every week, and change it up a little bit. One of the, I guess you could say, trickiest aspects to deal with at first is understanding the idea of there being God that we can pray to, talk about, read about, discuss, and all of that. And the idea that there's something even beyond that that we don't understand, that is also God, yet there's only one God. So this is the fundamental difference between how we think of God within existence, which would be the that fourth level from the bottom, the Chaya level, and how we think of God like before Genesis 1:1, before anything at all came about. Excuse me. Hold on one second. I just got a text here. I'm trying to. Okay, I think we'll be okay here. So we weren't going to talk a lot, we said, about the fifth level outside of existence, because it's not really a lot we can simply read about. There's nothing really much. But there are ways to understanding it from what came about, emanated from it. So we are going to talk a little bit about this Yehida level of the soul and the transcendent aspect of the Creator. I've got a video I want to queue up, okay? And this video is 3 minutes, and it's going to touch on this subject, that there's an aspect of God that we understand and talk about, and there's something beyond that. And the video is by Professor Daniel Matt, who is the translator and publisher of a new version of the books of the Zohar from Aramaic. He did an 18-year project he just completed a few years ago. So he's a pretty smart guy, but it's only a 3-minute video. But listen closely to this, because it's very critical to understanding everything that's in the Torah. So give me 1 second while I cue this up. Let's see. Stop share. Share screen. Where's my movie? Hold on. Sometimes there we go. I'm coming back to you folks here. Hold on. All right, share screen. It wasn't showing up on my, there it is. Now it is. Yeah, it's fickle sometimes. Okay, share sound. Make sure to do that. And okay, so this, we're going to blow this up. All right, turn up your speakers. This is 3 minutes. As soon as it comes up on your screen, I think it just did, right? So hopefully y'all can hear this okay.
Bereshit bara Elohim. This is so common. Okay, even people who know hardly anything know this. Perhaps many of you know it in Hebrew. Even those of you who don't know Hebrew may be familiar with these words. Bereshit bara Elohim. Okay, as we learned before, it's interesting that the Torah begins with bet and not with aleph. But I want to focus on something else here. What does this phrase mean? Notice I didn't even put the whole verse. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. We're leaving heaven and earth aside for now. Okay, just focusing on the first three words of the Torah. Bereshit bara Elohim. That means, of course, in the beginning, God created. But what does the Hebrew actually say? Bereshit, in the beginning, bara, created, Elohim, God. That's how the Zohar reads the verse. In the beginning, it created God. That's startling. That is the Zohar's commentary on the first pasuk of the entire Torah. Right there, you see why the Zohar was hidden. Right there, you understand all those restrictions about studying Kabbalah. How can the Zohar say that the Torah begins by saying that God was created? That sounds crazy. That sounds heretical. In the beginning, God created. No, the Zohar says, in the beginning, something created God. Now, this isn't atheism. This isn't a put down of God. This is saying there's something greater about God than what we call God. So who is the subject of Bereshit bara Elohim? It's not Elohim. Elohim is the object. Now, of course, in Hebrew, the object can come after the verb. Certainly, the simple meaning of this verse is, in the beginning, Elohim created. There's no doubt. But the Zohar says, no, let's read it hyper-literally. I would call this hyper-literalism. The Zohar says, you want to read the Torah literally? Look at it really literally. In the beginning, it created Elohim. So who is the subject? The subject is the unnameable, Ayin or Ein Sof. The God, what the great one mystic is called the God beyond God. Ein Sof is certainly the subject, but Elohim, I think this is the Zohar's way of saying what we think of as God, that's a very puny understanding of God. So the Zohar is constantly challenging human theological systems, human theological beliefs.
Okay. All right, here we go. Let's see if we can get everybody back here. There we go. Luke's back, right? All right, we lost him. I hope you all heard that and saw that okay on the screen. I was having some little technical issues here, and as I said, some texts flying in at me from family members who are trying to get something coordinated here as we speak. So hopefully that went okay. All right, let me fix my view of my screen here. Second. I'm still getting used to Zoom here, but sometimes it just does things that are a little bit strange. All right, so I need to get you guys back to my screen. There we go. Okay. People coming in too. All right. Can y'all hear me okay now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. All right. Yeah, I'm having trouble with my windows here. So the video we saw and what I was alluding to earlier is this idea that when you pick up the Bible, read Genesis, in the beginning, Elohim created, you're talking about this level of God that we can understand. There's just one God, but there's this idea that there's a level we can understand and can't, which of course is a major problem, right? When you have what do you call it? Irreconcilable difference, right? How can something be unknowable yet also be knowable, both be true? So I'm going to put a text up on the screen with that in mind, by the way, and with the video in mind. I'm going to put a text up on the screen here. And the reason we're getting into this tonight is we did just enter into this Neshama level, which is a level of using the intellect to understand things. So we're going a little deeper than we originally planned, actually, in terms of what we're dealing with here. But it's important to show the connectivity between everything from the lowest point on our earth all the way to God beyond existence, because that's something we're going to touch on a little bit when Luke does a meditation in a few minutes. Okay, so let me go to our next screen. I'm gonna give you all a minute to read that. Again, keep in mind the Daniel Matt thing about God you can understand and not understand. I'm gonna put a text from the Zohar on screen and give everybody a minute to just go ahead and read through it, okay? I'll explain it after, so just give yourself a quick read through here. And I'll give you another second here or two, but it might be a little unusual for some folks, you know, the language and all. So I'm going to just go over it here real quick. Essentially, this is addressing the issue that Daniel Matt just brought up, only it's doing it in a very interesting way. And the part that's in bold, the second, third sentence down, it's quite an emphatic statement that the only aim and object of the Holy One of God in sending man into the world is to know and understand that Hashem, which it's using that term for the unknowable God before existence, okay? That unknowable God is Elohim, is the God we can understand that's in Genesis 1:1 at the very beginning. So the Zohar has this concept of the unknowable God, like Daniel Matt was just saying, and the concept that we can know, which is categorized as Elohim, because that's the first entry in the Torah regarding a name for God. So that's interesting. And it's the idea that something goes over encompassing everything, you know, and then there's also something much more finite that we're dealing with, existence within that. Excuse me. And it applies this concept of a general like umbrella that permeates everything versus the specific. It's a little bit like what we brought up just last week, a little bit with the Or Makif, the light from God that covers and shines everything through everything that's overwhelming, and the Or Panimi, which is the light that is restricted and useful to us that we can draw on and deal with in existence. The same idea, it even applies it in the middle of the text here, if you saw it, to the written and oral Torah, with the written Torah being this eternal large everything, and the oral Torah being the detailed parts within it that how we live our life according to, you know, the right way of doing the things that are in the written Torah. So it applies that concept to the oral and Torah, showing that those two are also one. So it's an interesting concept that goes beyond. So so that's the idea here, is that there's a concept of God that's beyond everything, and a concept of God that we're just like understanding at our within kind of our level, if you will. And yet these are the same. So when the Shema in the morning, I think we mentioned this last week, right? But the Shema in the morning, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. So you have this Adonai is in place of Hashem there. So it's Hashem, and then Eloheinu, which is like Elohim, and then Hashem again, and then Echad. And what it's saying is that first one, the first Hashem, you know, above that we can't understand, Eloheinu, the concept of God we can understand, and then it goes back and says Hashem Echad, that it's all one, it's all the same. So even in the Shema itself is this concept of an unknowable and also a knowable God that are just eternally one. There's no separation. It's just from our temporary perspective. Okay, we're going to be looking at some things we were talking about earlier today or yesterday, Luke and I, because we had a lot of material kind of had to bring it down. All right, so that's an interesting quote from the Zohar there. I don't usually have people just do a lot of reading, but I read it the other night and said, well, if you read it, it's hard to follow along, so I just put it on the screen. And like I said, we're going to put all the slides online soon and everything, so you'll have it permanently if you're interested in that. Which brings us to the next slide, which is we just finished the second level of prayer in the Ruach, right? Last month's theme. And now, as I said earlier, we're looking at from the intellect level down. So we can looking down at the emotional prayer level from the intellect level. And we're looking at a prayer here There are set prayers in Judaism. There's some for the day, some for the week, some of the year, holidays, you name it. There's all kinds of prayer, all pointing in the same direction. And this one is a daily one, if you're not familiar. And this prayer is very significant in that it has a unique property that no others do. All prayer in Judaism is directed, as you would think, to God that we can understand, deal with, pray to, et cetera, that level of God we were just talking about, that Elohim level, the Moda'ani is unique and different because it's the very first thing that you say in the morning. Your eyes awaken, you say this before anything, before you get out of bed, wash your hands, anything. And the reason is that it's a prayer that goes beyond the usual, I don't know if I want to say this word, parameters, beyond existence to that aspect of God we can't even understand. So this prayer has none of the traditional names of God used in it. It simply chooses the word king. A king above everything. I can't even understand. I'm a peasant. I don't even know. I know there's a king out there. But so it has to do with God at that level. And this is why this prayer, Moda'ani, and in English in the middle. And then there's 3 quotes I put around it. The quote on the left. Okay. The quote on the left and the quote in the middle are the source for those is Rabbi Menachem Schneerson. And the quote on the right is from no, I'm trying to remember her name, Judith Schneider, from a book. And they all relate to that same theme, that there's something beyond existence that we can't even contemplate, an idea of God that's outside of anything, and us all the way down here, the lowest level, in pretty dark places in this world, as you know. It gets pretty bad. So that all of this is connected as a one end to the other, you can say. And so the Moda'ani is reaching back to before Genesis, back to any concept of God we can define and discuss, and connecting your soul at that level. So it's before any situations, it's before any experiences, any problems, it's before anything. You're reaching back to something eternal with this prayer, and that's how you start your day. And then all the other prayers ensue, dealing with aspects of existence that we have to deal with. But this goes way beyond that. So it's a really unique prayer, and why the day is started with this. So if you think of it in terms of like the chart that we used, or the Sephirot, the diagram, the Sephirot, you could almost say this prayer is like bypassing everything in the middle. It's here we are down in Malkut, the world of Asiya, down at the bottom, and we're connecting with, however we can even try to say it, some concept of eternal God that we can't define because there's no words to define this, that we're able to actually make this connection through this prayer. So it's very, very profound thing. I'll leave it at that. Listen, you're bypassing all of that, all the middle realms with this. It's to start your day, and then you go from there. And that's the plan. Yeah, a couple of people texted that PM that they're having trouble with weather related stuff. We had a violent thunderstorm and some sleet or hail about an hour ago here coming through New Hampshire. So I was going through New York too. So yeah, just be safe, be careful, unplug if you have to. Yeah, generally unplug with the lightning. All right, so this is, thank goodness for this, my last slide of the night. We'll put this recording online. We'll put the slides eventually online too. But we're going to take a short break here. And for like a couple minutes, people want to run and get a drink or do whatever they need to do. We'll take like a 2-3 minute break here. And when we come back, Luke's going to continue and discuss different aspects of prayer meditation and the intellect and all of this good stuff. Anything before we take a break, Luke? I think Luke's here. Or did he kick himself out again? Oh, okay.
No, he must be a AFK, but it shows that he's here.
Yes, it does show that he's here. Where do you think he went? We're all speculating now. We're gonna have to do a where's Luke contest. All right, so let's just take a break for a couple minutes. I was just gonna see if he wanted to say something. He probably ran off to take a break, right? So we'll hold tight for a couple of minutes, do what you need to do, and we'll resume. What is it now? 10:20 by 10:30, the latest Eastern time. So that's 3 minutes from now.
So that storm that got to you, Tovia, it just rolled through Wisconsin. So there were outages and all of that. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I got some people in Illinois said the same thing. They've got it. I think New York got it. I think it's coming this way. I hope that way it's clearing the roads between you and me. Yeah, I got two sets of people on the road. So
we got hit with some
You should be
hail.
safe.
all right. So do we have Luke here? Oh, wait a minute. Is he trying to get in? No. Where is he? Oh, he's definitely out of the room now. Yeah, he must have had an internet connection. So let's sit tight because we're waiting for him, but we're also still on our union break. I'll have to give him a big round of applause when he comes in. It's not showing participants. Yeah, no, it's not showing him. Oh, he's showing him as here. Luke, are you here?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my my signal, but I'm trying to get a steady signal. It keeps going in and out.
You know what you need, right?
What's that?
You need an old priest and a young priest. You need to exercise your machine.
Oh yeah.
It's possessed. Yeah. That was a line from the movie, just in case you're too young to know that. The Exorcist. Yeah. I need an old priest and a young priest. Yeah.
Yes,
also
but then
in
his
the-
machine would go crashing out the window and rolling down the stairs.
All right. So we're finishing up our union mandated break here, Luke. And so in about a minute, if you're all set, good to go. And you wanted to begin. The one thing I noticed I was going to bring up, but got distracted, was last week, a week before, we talked about certain aspects like Jacob's ladder connecting our earthly world to this level of Neshama, or the heavenly world, as it's called. We talked about that. We talked about those 6 emanations that make up the middle, the ladder in Jacob's dream. How that was the 6 attributes. And Luke had a thing on them in a cube because they relate to this, what's called the 6 constant commandments, the 6 commandments that you can do anywhere, anytime, any place. I'm trying to think if there was another example, but anyhow, we were talking about that stuff. So now, as I said, we're going to be looking at a little bit, the same general things, but from a different perspective, from the Neshama perspective, which is more one of Torah study, deep Torah study, the intellect. So this will be interesting to see how this goes. Are you good to go, my friend?
Yeah. I think.
Hey guys, sorry I stepped out. My wife was calling me, so I had to take that,
That's fine.
No problem.
First
You don't have
place
to-
and all,
You don't have to explain. That's okay.
Yeah,
All right,
totally.
Are you ready to go, Luke?
Yeah, we can go ahead.
I'm recording, so here we go.
All right, hey everybody. Let me know in the chat if you hear me like fuzzy or it sounds like I'm in a tunnel or something, so I can shift around. But all right, so we'll go ahead and start. So we've been through the level of Nefesh, all the way through the level of Ruach, and now we're at Neshama. And so like here we're learning to perform spiritual mitzvot. So like we have the physical mitzvot, but we also have the kavanot and attaining a masak or a screen. A screen, like we attune our awareness to a certain degree to where we're able to, audio is clear, great. So we're able to analyze everything that comes through, you know, we're able to stay aware of our thoughts and emotions, our desires, which direction they're going, if it's a selfish desire or if I need to restrict that desire and cover it with the correct intention. So here we're performing spiritual mitzvot actions of making a restriction in the desire to receive and clothing it with the intention to give. So Neshama is the Hey in the 4-letter name, the divine name. It's the Hey, the hand that gives. At this level, we have conscious control over our thinking and emotions, and we've reached a certain degree of similarity in our qualities with Hashem, which, you know, a general example of the qualities would be like mutual connection, love, and giving. And you could also say unity, love, unity, same thing. Neshama is basically the vessel or consciousness which holds the divine nature, which Hashem desires to bestow, to give us to reach that closeness and similarity with him. And we're able to perform these actions with the masak, like I said, our attuned screen of awareness within divine connection. And Neshama is the part of Hashem above, the perfected place we can access, which has a great cognizance of Ein Sof. And so just a review of last week, we covered, you know, the distinction between unconscious stream of emotionally generated thoughts and consciously generated thoughts. You know, there's that distinction because one is basically our desires and emotion disguised as a thought. And then the other is the conscious thought that we, like the difference would be, you know, something running through our heads that we can't get out. And then the conscious thought would be like doing a math problem. So we can stop the math problem at any time, but it's very hard to stop the unconscious stream of thought. But at this level, we're able to kind of rein it in and be able to direct it wherever we want to. So in this context, like Baal Salam teaches that to study the Torah means to learn for the sake of correction, tikkun, not to read a book called the Torah. To observe mitzvot means to perform spiritual actions with the masak, the screen, the attuned screen of awareness, not to carry out mechanical actions. Through studying the Torah and observing its mitzvot, the neshama achieves a perfection that it lacked in the beginning of creation. It signifies the equivalence of its properties with those of the creator. The neshama would deserve to receive all the pleasure that was in the thought of creation. Now it will completely merge with the creator. So when we reach this level where we can sense the divine source within our, you know, within ourself, within our surroundings, and we're able to perceive it. And he mentions Torah and mitzvot here. So in this case, Torah would be the light, the direct light, and the mitzvot would be the vessels or consciousness, which would then become the reflected light. And an important principle to understand with Kavanah is it's not mere intention of the mind. So the root word of Kavanah is mechaven. We're not asked to think a Kavanah, but to mechaven, whose root letters also mean to equalize. So we become that, and we reach an equivalence of form and similarity in properties. So we touched on, that's one of the concepts that we've been touching on over the last few weeks, Kavanah. And then Hakara Vihargasha, which is like a felt sense recognition, and Hitkashrut, which is direct influence. in that connection with the other. So like we can draw down healing energy and direct it, connect to another person and send that healing energy to them through this connection. And in order to have true Kavanah, we must develop our capacity to access Da'at, which is another concept that we've been covering. So through accessing Da'at, we can experience the revelation of Binah in the emotions and the heart. Da'at is the faculty which binds the hidden understanding of the heart with that which is actually revealed in thought. This is from Tanya 42. We consciously concentrate and direct our thoughts with love and awe and compassion, confidence and gratitude in performing these spiritual actions or heartfelt intention within this awareness, within the connection. And so these are just things to keep in mind whenever we do this meditation. So we're going to do an experiment. So go ahead and get comfortable. And just get everything out of your hands, or if you have the book Living in Divine Space, you can turn to page 144. And we'll be going through this as we go through the meditation. But before we start, can everybody still hear me okay? Just type a Y in the chat. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, let me get everything together here. All right. So last week we covered the Rabbi Ginsburg's Living in Divine Space. We construct the meditative cube. And so we're gonna review that a little bit, but we're gonna do it from a different, in honor of Pesach, which is coming up. We're gonna do a little bit different than last week. So yeah, go ahead and get comfortable. You can keep your eyes open or close them, whatever you want to do, and just take a deep breath in, all the way in. Hold it, and then let it out. Breathe it all the way out. Use your stomach muscles. Breathe all the way back in. All the way in, hold it. Breathe all the way back out. Using your stomach muscles. And just return back to normal breathing. And let your awareness kind of just settle on the breath and the harmonious functioning of the body. And just become aware of the space around you. Try to feel that expansiveness within your awareness. Notice any sounds, any movement, any sensations, any sense perceptions. Any aches or pains. Just let it all relax. Warm, heavy, and relaxed. Relax your face, your neck, your shoulders. Relax your arms, your hands, your abdomen and your back. Relax your pelvis. Relax your legs. Relax your ankles and your toes. Feel the connection between you and the bed or the chair you're sitting in. And just notice as you feel that connection deeper, it draws away from us thinking about whatever. We feel a shift in our consciousness whenever we deeply feel something, Pargasha. Let your awareness just kind of sink all the way into the feeling, that felt sense of connectedness, expansiveness. Bring your awareness to your right side. About 2 feet away. And just envision a wall there, the color of white and silver. And you can mix it any way you want. Just a perfectly square wall to your right. And this represents the sensation of the unification, which is love. And this is the remembrance of the Exodus, the epitome of which is Passover night, conveys to the Jewish soul the impression of the love between God and Israel, a love symbolized in the Torah by the groom and the bride. And Kabbalah, Passover is the festival of love. On Passover, we read the Song of Songs, the song of love between the divine groom and his bride. Of the Exodus, it is said, I remember for you the kindness of your youth, the love of your espousals, how you followed me into the desert, into the unsown land. God remembers our kindness and our love for him, and we remember his kindness and love for us. Thus, the remembrance of the Exodus corresponds to the constant mitzvah to love God. And this is our right. So we associate this with the right side. And now we're moving to above us. Construct a wall, a ceiling above you, about 2 feet above your head. And at the same time, keep feeling the right side. And this ceiling is dark pink. This represents the mindfulness of the divine presence above our head, perception of Hashem's felt presence, omnipotence, omnipresence, and divine providence. It corresponds to our bitachon, our trust and confidence. And this corresponds to the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. So as we're feeling the right and we're feeling the ceiling above us, the remembrance of God's revelation to us at Sinai is the revelation of above. As stated in the verse, you have seen that from heaven I have spoken with you. This clearly corresponds to the constant commandment to believe in God and his providence. The Torah was commanded to us by Moses, who corresponds to the Sephirah of Netzach and the direction of above. Netzach means victory or eternity, and so is the Torah eternal, never to be replaced. As we shall see, the essence of the first of the 10 commandments, the Torah source of this commandment, is expressed in the first words, I am Yod-He and Vav-He, your God, referring to the revelation of God's essence. The verse continues, who has taken you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. The revelation of Sinai recalls the exodus from Egypt. Adult belief in God's essence recalls the love of youth for him. So we're feeling the right and the ceiling above us. And keep in mind, we're constructing that cube. The next step is behind us. So we're constructing a wall 2 feet away from us behind us. And this represents the guarding of thoughts from invasion of Amalek, of doubt. And this wall is orange. So the remembrance of Amalek corresponds to the rear, behind, the constant commandment to shield one's mind from negative thoughts of heresy and lust, as expressed by the idiom used in the Torah to describe Amalek's attack on Israel, how he met you on the way and cut down, tailed you, the tail being a symbol of the rear, all the weak who struggled behind you. As we shall see, Amalek is the arch enemy of Israel, who attacks from the rear. Based upon the numerical equivalence of Amalek, 240, and doubt, Safek, which is also 240, the Baal Shem Tov teaches that Amalek is the source of heretical thoughts. Heretical thoughts themselves provoke thoughts of lust. So we're feeling that side of the cube to the right, 2 feet away from us, the ceiling 2 feet above us, the wall 2 feet behind us. And we're moving to the next step, which is Hod, which represents below. So try to feel 2 feet below you, even if there's a floor in the way, just try to feel 2 feet below you. And construct a wall of light pink. And this represents denying idolatry and the sin of the golden calf. You shall have no other gods before me. And this also represents our gratitude, Hakarat Hatov, recognizing the good in everything and everyone, that it all has purpose. The remembrance of the sin of the golden calf most clearly corresponds to the constant commandment not to serve idols. Instead of relying solely upon God, the provider of all our needs, the people placed their reliance in a graven image. So we're feeling to the right of us, above us, behind us, and below us. Just try to feel that expansiveness in that space. Feel it settling, and focusing. The next step is Gevura, which corresponds to the left side. So 2 feet to our left, we construct a wall with red and gold. So the remembrance of the punishment God meted out to Miriam corresponds to the constant commandment to fear God, to be in awe of him. Miriam, punished with leprosy, was ostracized from the camp of Israel, where God's presence was manifest. When we see that even the most beloved to God are held accountable for their deeds and become temporarily severed from the revelation of his presence, we come to fear being severed from God, and we stand in awe of his presence. So we're feeling to the right, above us, behind us, below us, to our left. And finally, we come to Tiferet, which represents the front, corresponding to the all-encompassing presence of Hashem and his divine providence. Also represents the state of Shabbat. So finally, the remembrance of the day of Shabbat corresponds to the constant commandment to believe in God's absolute unity. Not only to believe, but to be mindful of it, to feel it, to sense it, perceive it, to know his infinite mercy over all. Shabbat is the revelation of the higher unification, as expressed in the first verse of the Shema. Hear, O Israel, Hashem is our God, Hashem is one. The final letters of 3 words that precede this verse in the Torah, Zafat, Kalav, was it? Udavash, flowing with milk and honey. And this spelled backwards as Shabbat. Very interesting. The numerical value of the word Shabbat is 702. 702 equals 27 times 26, and which is the numerical value of the name Chavaya. If you have the book, you can read this. I don't want to go too deep into this, but okay, so we return our attention to the cube. We have our right, we have above us, we have below us, we have behind us, to our left, and in front of us. 2 feet in each direction, in front of you, behind you, beside you, below you, above you. And just try to feel that settling into it. And as you feel each side, try to remember what these commandments represent, what each side represents. Connect to the midot, to our love and awe, to our mindfulness of Hashem's presence, which encompasses us, his divine providence, trying to perceive and feel this presence. Our complete confidence and gratitude in Hashem. And just try to reduce the effort a little bit. Just right now we're concentrating really hard on each side, so just kind of relax and reduce the effort. Still remembering each side. So this aspect of remembrance is also an aspect of da'at, our consciousness, and we can recall the state anytime. So he says here, first, let us note with regard to the spiritual service of meditation that remembrance is a state of consciousness that remains in the wake of a life experience or a meditative experience. In the terminology of Kabbalah and Hasidim, this is called an impression or rishimu. So an energetic impression. It's like we talked about when we went to the level of Chaya and back. We reach up there, access that Kedusha, that holy connecting energy, purifying and connecting energy. We bring it back down, and then we have an impression of that holiness, which we can integrate into our da'at, into our awareness. So when unable to meditate in depth, we are taught at least to recall previous experiences. So this aspect of, the perception and felt sense of Hashem's presence and divine providence, we can recall it in memory. And this is part of our mindfulness practice of Yeshuv HaDa'at. So when we begin in the morning with in-depth meditation, we hope to remember the impression of the meditation the entire day. And this is a very important practice. All right, go ahead and return to your breathing, a harmonious functioning of the body. Sensation of the bed or the chair underneath you. Maybe the floor under your feet. Any sense perceptions, any sounds, any movement. And go ahead and relax, stretch, and let me know in the chat if you're able to maintain this state the whole time and that you were able to kind of soak in what I was reading. If it changed your experience at all. Any comments or questions about that? So this is like an important aspect of Torah study, is learning to be in this state at the same time that we're studying the material, so that we can draw it down. We can become totally focused and absorbed into our study. Like, for instance, if you have this book, Living in Divine Presence, you can practice this, constructing the meditative cube. I lost focus and forgot what below the feet meant. The color, that's okay. Yeah, colors aren't important. That's just to kind of help you focus if you need it. Studying off puts me in a state. That's good. Yeah, the colors aren't that important. It's just something to kind of draw your attention away from thoughts. I did lose focus a little later. That's okay. Yeah, so this is why practice is important. So we can just, and when we go through these meditations, we're doing experiments as a group. So this is basically like a mad scientist lab here. We're trying all kinds of different stuff because we never know what's gonna click for somebody, Creating the cube was interesting. Great. Yeah, so whenever we enter into a higher state of consciousness, we feel this expansiveness. We no longer feel space, which is weird to say. We don't really experience space or time anymore. And obviously, when we're sitting in a room, we feel our physical bodies and we feel whatever around us. We feel the air on our skin and everything. But in a higher state of consciousness, this space disappears and you realize that everything is actually full of a presence that is vibrant and alive. And you sense the life force and everything, even inanimate objects. And this cube is basically like a preparation for that. Rabbi Yitzhak Ginsburg Shlita is obviously a tzaddik, and he has experienced a lot. So he's bringing this down in a way that the teaching actually comes from Sefer Yetzirah mostly, constructing the cube around you. But it's a very important practice because it kind of trains our consciousness to remember that impression. And we can always access it whenever we want to, you know. The more we practice it, you know, it's like a cumulative effect. And so the more we practice it, the more momentum it has, the less we have to do, you know. It just starts happening. And there's not all we have to do is just, you know, access our willpower, access our da'at. And there it is. We're in that state. So he mentioned in the book that we start the morning out with in-depth meditation, hit Bonenut, or hit Bodhidut, or both, whichever one you prefer. But it's important to get into the state in the morning. So Toby and I were thinking, you know, why not start with the very first prayer we utter when we wake up and we haven't even opened our eyes yet, you know? So go ahead and relax again. Uncross your arms and your legs and get everything out of your hands. And this time we're going to close our eyes because it's going to be as if we first woke up, you know? The first thing that we utter when we wake up is Modeh Ani. For those that aren't familiar with Modeh Ani, it's the very first prayer, first Jewish prayer that we utter when we first wake up. And it's basically giving thanks to Hashem for giving us this life force, this breath in our lungs, and our soul, it comes back to us recharged and renewed. So I'll read it one time without the intention or the intentions. So I talked earlier about performing spiritual actions, the mitzvot. In this sense, is learning to direct our consciousness in certain ways and learning to access those Reshima that felt the memory of the, you know, perceived and felt impressions of consciousness, the connectedness. And so I'll read it through one time. So it says, Modeh Ani Lefaneka Melech Chai V'Kayam Shekazarta Bi Nishmati V'Kimla Rabba Emunateka. So this means, I thank you, ever-living King, for compassionately returning my soul to me. How great is your faithfulness? All right, so eyes closed, we're relaxed. And just focus on your breathing like we did before. Try to access that state where you feel the expansiveness within your awareness. You feel this connection between you and the bed or the chair that you're laying on or sitting in. You feel the space around you. And just try to allow your mind to settle and focus on this breathing, harmonious functioning of the body. Get a sense of the space. And notice how as you do this, your awareness, your attention shifts from the thinking mind to the felt sense of connectedness to the sensation. One more example I'll use to describe this. When we fully immerse in this state, it's kind of like whenever you watch a movie that you really like, or read a story that you really like, watch something that's really engaging. All of our attention is on that, and we totally forget ourselves. And suddenly, in this forgetting of ourselves, joy arises in its place. And there's a deep passion that wakes up, and joy, and we're fully immersed in it, but we have no consciousness of self. So this is an absorption. We're basically practicing kavanah, but without the intention. So when we use the intention to practice it, we become totally absorbed and conscious at the same time that we're actually in this divine space with Hashem. So that's the last example I'll use, but go ahead and get back in that state. Eyes closed, shoulders relaxed, body's relaxed. Take a deep breath all the way in, hold it. Exhale all the way out. Take another deep breath in, all the way in. Hold it. And exhale all the way out. Just keep in mind we're first waking up, As soon as we wake up, we don't even open our eyes yet. And we say, Modeh. Modeh. And try to shift your consciousness and direct it to feel this. Modeh. Acknowledge Hashem's presence. Acknowledge the you, Atah, the presence before us. Feel the gratitude and surrender yourself to Hashem. Modeh. Ani, the true I, beyond the ego, beyond the sense of self. Experience yourself as the witnessing consciousness, which is aware of all of this happening. It's aware of this connection, this perception and felt sense, aware of the thoughts, any sensations, aware of Hashem's presence before us, that surrounds us. Lafaneka. Feel Hashem's filling and surrounding presence like a sea of consciousness in every cell of the body, in the breath, in the air around us. And just melt into this surrounding presence. Remember the cube. Remember how our consciousness is directed outward. Just relax into it. Just melt into it. Lafaneka. Melech. Become aware of he who rules, the storyteller who speaks, and it comes into being. The author of the story that we are inside right now. And just become aware of everything that's happening right now. It's being created over and over again. Constant recreation. Like a storyteller, like an artist who's actively writing the story in this moment. Everything becomes alive and vibrant. We become totally focused on the present moment. Melech. Chai. Become aware of the source of all life and aliveness in the here and now, in the present moment. The pulsating aliveness permeating all reality, everything that surrounds and fills us, the filling of all worlds, the immanent presence of Hashem, and this intimate connection with him. He's so close. Feel that desire and yearning to connect with him, to feel him. Just allow yourself to melt into it. Kai. Vikayam. Become aware of the enduring, eternal, sustaining, transcendent presence within and without. Experiencing yourself as just a point from which everything is flowing through. Everything is flowing in and out. Just a point of awareness. Everything is moving within and without, passing through. Feel Hashem's enduring, eternal, and sustaining, constantly recreating transcendent presence within and without. The Kayam. Shekhazar to be. You have returned, refreshed, and recharged my soul within me. A reuniting of the soul with the body. Feel this refreshing sensation of the soul entering the body through the nostrils. Breathe in and feel that refreshing breath, that life-giving breath. Within this breath is Hashem's desire to give us life, pleasure, and enjoyment. Shekhazar to be. Nishmati. Become aware of the higher intelligence breathing the breath of life into us, which is happening without our conscious involvement. Again, return to the breath, to the surrounding presence that we feel so connected to, it's intimately connected to. And this breath is moving in and out, this cosmic breath of Hashem exhaling, and we're inhaling. We're exhaling, Hashem's inhaling. Just feel this unconditional love coming from Hashem to give us life, pleasure, enjoyment. And all we have to do is become aware of this, and this brings him great delight. Shekhazar to be. Nishmati. Bekimla. Feeling gratitude for the compassion of the Creator who returns our soul within us. Just feel that gratitude. If you can't feel it, think of a memory that you feel where you felt very grateful. And just immerse yourself in that memory as if it's happening right now. Just feel it fully. Totally grateful for everything Hashem gives us, for the life force and the breath which sustains us, blood flowing through us, our soul within us. Feeling gratitude for the compassion, the rachamim of the Creator who returns our soul within us. Bekimla. Rabba imonateka. Great is our Muna, our faith in him, our perception and felt presence, his felt presence in divine providence, and his faith in us. Feel this connection, that we are bound up together, intimately connected as one. There's only Hashem. It's filling the surrounding presence. Hashem breathing into us. constantly sustaining us, holding all atoms together. Allowing us to have this life force. Just feel that aliveness of being totally present here and now. Hashem is always present here with us. All we have to do is return our awareness to this connection. Return to your breathing, the harmonious functioning of the body. Any sense perceptions, any sounds in the environment, any movement. And open your eyes. And just try to keep that impression as you open your eyes. Try to feel that expansiveness, Hashem, his presence, encompassing us, filling us with life force and breath. So what we did, we were using kavanot. So each time we said a word of the prayer, we direct our consciousness to the deeper meaning behind it. And then we try to feel that, like I said earlier in the beginning, I was talking about kavanah being not just thinking, but becoming equal with that, becoming totally absorbed and equalized with that quality, so that we enter a state of devakut, unification, and we feel that connection whenever we have proper kavanah, which is not just mindful, but heartful, right? So we're not just directing our mind, but we're directing our thoughts, our hearts. Like it says in the Tanya, the quote I mentioned earlier, Da'at is the faculty which binds the hidden understanding of the heart, that which is actually revealed in thought. And through accessing Da'at, we can experience the revelation of Binah, understanding of conscious thought in the emotions. So Da'at is the bridge. This is the awareness, the sense of self, lower and higher self. So Da'at Tecton, this is the aspect of Da'at Tecton. And then Da'at Elyon is when we're totally absorbed and we forget ourselves. So you can go ahead and relax. But yeah, we're doing what the Baal Salam calls spiritual mitzvot, spiritual actions. We're using the level of Binah. We're accessing our Da'at, our awareness, and we're using what's called a masak, which is a screen. And this is basically like an attuned awareness. So everything that passes through this awareness, you can judge it as to whether it's something you can receive for Hashem's sake or for the sake of others, or if you're just wanting to receive it for yourself at the expense of others. So this is what is meant by masak, by a screen. But this is basically just an attuned awareness. It's like it goes in line with the kavanah of being totally in alignment, aligning our will with his will, and also the felt sense of connectedness. So kavanah is the beginning, and it acts like a slingshot, like a vehicle to devakut. So does anybody have any questions or comments? Is anybody new to Modayani? By the way, I'm going to be posting this in the group with the intentions behind it so that everybody can practice it on their own. Anybody want to take the mic?
Hello, 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 hello.
Hello?
I'm still here. I was gonna say, so it's normally a good idea to meditate before you do morning prayers, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Not everyone can do like 4 hours, but 30 minutes is better than nothing.
Even 5 minutes, really. I mean, as long as if we've practiced a lot, we really don't have to spend that much time trying to get into that state, But that's why it's important to practice even before, I mean, after prayer during the day, just kind of like bring that impression back so you can just kind of try to feel it again, try to connect to that, in your intentions. And so like the more you practice, the less you really have to do anything, the less you have to use tricks or anything. It's like I was talking about, like you can just access that willpower in your da'at, accessing da'at where we're there, But yeah, it is important for sure to try to get into that state before prayer so you can fully experience the words of the prayer. And the prayer is designed in a way where it directs your consciousness as you speak the words. So you're basically doing. Go ahead.
Was it Rebbe Nachman that said that, like, really when the way the prayers are supposed to be done is that you're supposed to be able to shed your corporeal form,
Right.
when you get into prayer.
Right.
So
Right.
that's I don't know about all that. I can't really shed my corporeal form. That sounds really cool.
with time, Yeah, you get there. I mean, it just takes some practice. And he has another quote in Likutei Moharan where he's talking about you get to such a level of meditative stillness that all sensation of the body, all sensation of the breath, everything disappears. And suddenly there's just this presence there, this all-pervading presence. And we're just totally absorbed in it, And the crazy part is whenever you do get in that state and you start speaking the prayer, you can no longer hear yourself speak. So you're just like, what is happening? It's kind of scary the first time, but that's why it's important to practice, start gradually and just don't try to move too fast. That's where I messed up. I was trying to, get too far too fast, and it was like a shocking experience. So that's why Rebbe Nachman talks about doing it gradually, day by day, and not missing a day, So it's very important. Let's see.
Like grabbing an electric fence or something.
Yeah, it was pretty close to that. It was a little more subtle, but it was kind of weird because that suddenly, like, all bodily sensation, all sensation of the breathing, and then I couldn't hear myself speak, and I was just like, what? I felt like in some sense, like I had this inner feeling that I was speaking still, and I was saying the words, and it was like I could hear them from a distance. It was really strange. But now it's like it's totally okay. Like I'm totally blissed out whenever we do that. I do that in the prayer. But let's see. Got a lot in the chat. Let's see. Study off puts me in a state. Okay, I went too far back. Yeah, the prayer comes in, Modeh comes in the morning. Oh, you do Modeh before anything? Yeah. Yeah, that's the first thing you do before you even open your eyes. As soon as you wake up in bed, you just lay there, and then I'll post Modeh with the intentions so that everybody can just kind of take that and practice it. Because whenever you do this first thing in the morning, it's like it's totally transformative. It takes you to a very deep place, and then you're able to carry that with you the entire day. So like, even if you get busy or something happens and you kind of forget it, or you lose it, you can always re-access it through the Reshima, through that energetic impression in our memory, which is an aspect of Da'at. Let's see. They do prayers and myself just listen to their prayers. Automatic things happen. Yeah, great. Nicholas says, I thought, wait, where'd it go? Prayer always comes out at some point in the day. Oh, there it is. Hebrew, so I kind of got lost and out of focus. Yeah, the funny thing is, yeah, it's okay, man. It's okay. You're not supposed to do it perfectly the first time. And it's something that's kind of foreign because you don't speak Hebrew. You don't, say the prayers or anything in Hebrew. So that's totally fine. The funny thing is, though, the less Hebrew you know, the more valuable it is as a meditative device. So if you don't know a Hebrew word, then you don't have these preconceived notions of it, right? So you can use it and then use the intention, and you're not confused. You can just go straight into that, wherever that kavanah is pointing you. It's like in the modeh, without realizing what modeh means, here you can just know that it means acknowledging Hashem's presence, acknowledge the you, which is the most prevalent word in the Siddur, Atah, which is referring to, Hashem, his presence in the present, infused in the present. And we feel that gratitude and the surrender, which is like a complete let go at the same time. So that deep gratitude welling up, and then a surrender. And then we let go and we kind of feel that expansiveness a little bit. And that then we move into Ani, which is the aspect, accessing our Da'at, our awareness, the true I beyond ego identification. We experience ourselves as just the witnessing consciousness, this point source of awareness within this field, this ocean of consciousness. Then we move to La Faneka. So without knowing what this means, we can associate with it feeling Hashem's filling and surrounding presence in the air around us, in every cell of our body, in the movement, in the sounds. And then we can go to Malek, where it's becoming aware of he who rules, the storyteller who speaks, and it all comes into being. Yeah, so it's like that. You just keep moving down. And if you don't really have these preconceived notions of the Hebrew words already, like the simple meaning, you can actually use this a lot better. It would be more effective for you. So, like I said, I'll post this in the group. I'll pin it to the top. That way everybody can access it. And yeah, it's a very powerful practice. Like I said, the first thing in the morning, before you even open your eyes, just as soon as you wake up, you take a breath, you start saying Modeh. And that's a really powerful time to really access this, because we're just transitioning from complete unconsciousness to consciousness. We're still in between, asleep and awake. And that's really the most powerful time, because we can access that consciousness without a whole lot of ego bombardment, and we can feel it a lot deeper and more expansive, because there's not too many analytical thoughts trying to come in. I mean, as you wake up, it's going to be harder to say Modeh with this, with the Kavanot, because we're going to have more extraneous thoughts, but when you say it when you first wake up, it's like there's just this transitioning period where everything is just kind of quiet and silent and relaxed, and it's just the perfect time. I fell back asleep sometimes when I say Modani. That's okay. Yeah, with this, you'll be able to just kind of concentrate, because we're accessing our da'at, and through da'at we can feel the revelation of bina in the emotions in the heart. So this conscious thought, becomes felt, directed towards our object of contemplation, and then we feel it in our emotions, in our heart, in our sense perceptions, in our awareness, basically. But yeah, it just takes a little bit of practice. And like the first day you do it, you might fall back to sleep. But if you keep doing it every day, with these kavanot behind them, behind the words, it's a very short prayer. But whenever you extend it like this, it's actually, so let me go back to the Talmud, where it's talking about the sages who used to meditate before they prayed. They would take an hour before they prayed and just meditate on the greatness of Hashem's presence and feeling His presence and perceiving it, becoming totally connected and immersed before they even started praying. And then they would pray for an hour. And it took them an hour to say the Amidah, which means they were saying one word every 7 seconds. And this actually corresponds to a lot of tests done in modern psychology, where the attention span goes from like 7 to 10 to 12 seconds or something like that. And 7 is like the perfect time to actually have something to focus our mind on and then transition to the next thing. And there's actually a meditation on the Sephirot, where we take the time and just kind of write down the associations of each emotive Sephirot, like Chesed, Gevurah, Teferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. And we write, memories besides each one of them, or a thought that we want to focus on each one of them that would awaken that emotive Sephira within us. And then we have what Rabbi Daniel Katz is called a Mida Makshava map. So it's like, through accessing our dot, this revelation of Bina, conscious thought comes through and is expressed and revealed in the emotions, in the emotive Sephirot. And it's it's an easy practice, but it's very powerful, because when we do it like that and we shift to each one every 7 seconds, then we realize that we don't lose concentration, right? Because we're constantly staying focused on what we need to stay focused on. That's also why it's important to say the prayers, even a short prayer, if you can't say the whole divine service, just a few, because and say it like that, like one word every 7 seconds, and each time you say a word, allow that to direct your consciousness towards what it's talking about and try to connect with it. Like we were talking about earlier, kavanah, it's not just to think about it, but it's to become it, right? But yeah, it's a really simple, but it just takes a little bit of practice, and eventually you'll get it, everything will click. You'll be able to access it at will. And again, if you every 7 seconds, focus on a specific thought, which awakens a certain emotion, especially if you follow the Sephirot, the Midot, and yeah, so it's a really, really cool practice. And then, after a while, it just becomes second nature, and you don't really have to think about it. You just go there. After about 2 weeks, I would say you'll probably have it down, as long as you practice it every day. Does anybody have any questions? Any comments? Tovia, you there?
I may have
Yeah,
lost
well,
audio recording here. Hold on 1 second.
Okay. So does anybody have any questions or make any comments? Any questions about the meditation or specific techniques? Or just questions in general?
I just, if I may, I just want to say thank you to you guys for doing this. Mostly just want to say thank you. The first couple of meditations that we did, I mean, it was good to connect and do that. These last two have moved something within me, I've noticed.
Baruch Hashem.
I've been, I close off easily, very easily. I learned how to compartmentalize and put things away so that I guess I don't get hurt. And it's helping me to open back up again and be okay with that.
That's great.
You know, we've all had stuff going in our lives that
I'm not getting any audio here, sounds, and I'm not sure if it's recording audio.
I'm hearing both of you. Like Dawn is talking and I'm listening to her, and then I can hear you.
I don't think he can hear you.
Can you hear what I said? Yeah.
Sure how to fix this. Okay. Let's see here.
See, I can hear you.
I can hear everyone just fine.
Toby is having some audio issues. Yeah, I can hear everyone. I know he was having some bad weather there though, so that might have something to do with it. Yeah, I'm really glad, Dawn, that it's really helped you a lot. That it makes me really happy, honestly, because this is the whole reason that we're doing this. We just want to provide, you know, a way for people to connect with Hashem. That's basically it. And if you can bring this stuff into your life and apply it, that's even better. You know, to apply it to every situation. You know, from the time you wake up till you go to sleep. It's a really powerful practice, especially when it comes to prayer. Whether praying the divine service with the Siddur or hit Bodhidut, either one. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? Any questions about?
Yeah, good night. Well, this is my first time in trying meditation, and well, I have a problem. I always have a problem with meditating. Trying to concentrate a lot on it.
Right.
So, well, as you say, practice makes perfect. I always do a lot of reading along these lines of books and a lot of from these rabbis and them, but the problem is getting it in practice.
Right. Yeah, it's always a little bit difficult at first. We just have to build the willpower, you know, and the more we kind of overcome those desires to just kind of put it aside, you know, like the stronger that willpower becomes, and then we can really commit to the practice. But that is the hardest part, like you said. It's practice makes perfect, but it's hard to get the practice going, you know. But yeah, welcome. Glad you're here with us.
Thanks.
Hang on. Toby's having, let's see. He just he lost sound, but we can hear him, but he can't hear us. I don't know. Let's see if we can get this fixed. All right, I just, oh, he sent me a message. A lot of technical difficulties this time around.
The Matrix is trying to stop Tovia.
Yeah, it's weird because like usually what I found this new place where I don't have any problems with the connection, and I went to the same spot today, and it was like I had to do it like 3 or 4 different times before I could connect to the room, and then I had to move to a different space. I was like, what the heck's going on? You can hear now, yeah. Let's see. Well, Tovia said it might not be recording audio. That's a bummer. That's okay. Yeah, so does anybody else want to take the mic? I mean, we can hear each other. I think it's just Tovia can't hear.
Yeah, okay, well, I'll just step right in front of the line because I was just, you know, just wanted to just mention the Matrix.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really cool. I feel like at first I love what Rabbi Daniel Katz said. He
Yeah.
said, you know, getting into this type of meditative practice, he was saying that it's kind of like you know, if you were to have a laptop and you inspect the keys, the buttons and everything, and he said whenever you like make like a moment of connection, you know, spiritually, he said it's like pushing the power button.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. I mean, so you've been checking out Rav Daniel Katz's teachings?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love to spread the message. I've been a student of his for a while, and I think another person